Meet Edna. She's a very sweet 68-year-old woman who just retired from a long career as a school bus driver. She's a mother, a grandmother, lover of cats, avid player of the lottery, community advocate. She recently received a letter in the mail informing her that she'd won a lottery in the amount of $15,000. How exciting! But there's a catch. The lottery company needs her to send money to cover the fees to process her winnings before they can send her a check. Edna does just that. And in that split second, Edna is now the victim of elder financial exploitation. You may be wondering, what does elder financial exploitation look like? And how can your credit union protect your elder members from similar scenarios? Let's take a closer look. Let's begin with what elder financial exploitation looks like. Two red flag behaviors that might suggest there is fraud are erratic financial behavior and caregiver takeover of financial decisions. Here are some of the erratic behaviors to watch out for. Frequent large withdrawals, including daily maximum currency withdrawals from an ATM. Sudden non-sufficient funds activity. Complaints of or confusion about stolen or misplaced credit or debit cards or checkbooks. Uncharacteristic non-payment for services, which may indicate a loss of funds or access to funds. Inconsistent debit transactions. Opening new joint accounts. Uncharacteristic attempts to wire large sums of money. Closing of CDs or accounts without regard for penalties. Far-fetched explanations of why money is needed or was spent. More commonly, it may be your senior member's family or caretakers who will be the ones committing the financial exploitation. As disheartening as it may be, it's very common for family or caretakers to commit financial exploitation of senior members. Here are some signs your credit union should be aware of that point to abuse stemming from those close to your older members. The appearance of a new caregiver or friend. A caregiver or other individual shows excessive interest in the elderly member's finances or assets, does not allow the member to speak for him or herself, or is reluctant to leave the member's side during conversations. The member shows an unusual degree of fear or submissiveness toward a caregiver, or expresses a fear of eviction or nursing home placement if money is not given to a caretaker. The financial institution is unable to speak directly with the elderly member despite repeated attempts to contact him or her. A new caretaker, relative, or friend suddenly begins conducting financial transactions on behalf of the member without proper documentation. The member moves away from existing relationships and toward new associations with other friends or strangers. Abrupt changes in a will or other financial documents, or transfer of the person's assets to a family member, acquaintance, or care provider without reasonable explanation. The elderly member lacks knowledge about his or her financial status, or shows a sudden reluctance to discuss financial matters. It's also important to be aware of the types of fraud schemes that target seniors. Romance scam. Criminals pose as interested romantic partners on social media or dating websites to capitalize on their elderly victims' desire to find companions. Tech support scam. Criminals pose as technology support representatives and offer to fix non-existent computer issues. The scammers gain remote access to victims' devices and sensitive information. Grandparent scam. Criminals pose as a relative, usually a child or grandchild, claiming to be in immediate financial need. Government impersonation scam. Criminals pose as government employees and threaten to arrest or prosecute victims unless they agree to provide funds or other payments. Sweepstakes, charity, lottery scam. Criminals claim to work for legitimate charitable organizations to gain victims' trust, or they claim their targets have won a foreign lottery or sweepstakes, which they can collect for a fee. Home repair scam. Criminals appear in person and charge homeowners in advance for home improvement services that they never provide. TV radio scam. Criminals target potential victims using illegitimate advertisements about legitimate services, such as reverse mortgages or credit repair. Family caregiver scam. Relatives or acquaintances of the elderly victims take advantage of them or otherwise get their money. With this knowledge of what elder financial exploitation looks like from various sources, how can your credit union better protect your senior members? There are 3 things you can do if you suspect there is abuse occurring. 1. Train your employees on the signs of abuse. 2. Know your regulatory obligations. 3. Educate your members of the risks. Train your employees. Many seniors have no idea they are being scammed. In other cases, they might not have the ability or are too ashamed to speak up. It's up to your employees to recognize the signs of financial abuse and put a stop to it. The more knowledge your employees are armed with, the better they can support your senior members and stop a potentially devastating event. Know your regulatory obligations. As part of the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act, financial institutions are able to report suspected cases of elder financial exploitation to law enforcement and still be in compliance with the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. This means your credit union can share personal information on behalf of the member without their consent if there is a real belief that elder financial abuse is taking place. As part of their 13 CU08 release, the NCUA encouraged all credit unions to ensure that their policies and procedures lined up with state and federal requirements when reporting elder financial abuse. To do that, it's crucial that your institution understands the reporting standards for your state and makes them part of your process. In addition, utilize state and local agencies as partners in protecting your members. Educate your members of the risks. Share information about the types of scams going around or host seminars about elder financial exploitation and allow for members to ask questions. There are a multitude of ways that seniors can be targeted, and it's important for them to understand how and when this could happen to them. By keeping this information at the forefront of your members' minds, it will help them to stay vigilant and aware of the risks that they face. Now that you are armed with the information on what financial exploitation looks like and how you can advocate for and protect your senior members, the goal of your credit union should be to reduce the amount of occurrences of elder abuse. By understanding your responsibilities and educating your staff and members, fraud scenarios like Edna's can be prevented.